Welcome back to Marketplays Monday, February 12th?
Well, welcome back.
February 12th edition, yeah. So
Yeah,
this week we're talking the gig economy. We have Airbnb, Instacart, DoorDash, all reporting earnings this week, and Uber was just last week. So I guess let's start off, gentlemen. How are you today?
good. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Should we start introducing ourselves on these podcasts?
I would say I generally introduce you guys as just John and Efe, but I've never really explained who you are. So let's do that real quick.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Efe. I'm the co-founder, CEO of and CTO of Marketplace, your go-to investment platform if you go to that. So, um, I highly recommend it. I don't know what else to
I
say.
I would hope so. Um, And also with that new mic, FA is also our resident morning DJ.
Oh yeah. I also do ASMRs. I'm gonna put on a bikini here in a second and get into a jacuzzi.
We're gonna do it under another branding, I
This
guess.
is this is going right next to our match challenge.
I hope this is not the video they open up the first time they open. I mean, yeah. These podcasts are just, you know,
They're fun. I
it's
enjoy them.
good. It's just fun and
So
jokes.
the other guy on the call. Hello.
Hi, Joseph. So I guess I can go next. This is John, co-founder of Marketplace, being friends with Efe over 20 years. Actually, more probably. And yeah, really excited to be here. It's gonna be every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern time going forward. This week is the gig economy. Really exciting subject.
And John, did you say your role at Marketplace other than just FA
Co-founder.
Yep. Okay.
And I guess I'm overseeing a little bit operations and relationships in general of any kind.
And then I guess because we're here, hi, I'm Joseph. I've been FA's friend for almost 6 months now.
It's already affecting you.
Yes. CMO, I guess is that's what my business cards say. CMO at Marketplace. Yeah, officially joined the team. What, back in October of last year, was it? So I'm the new guy.
Yeah, he's the new guy.
Which you guys saved me from driving DoorDash. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, DoorDash. Why don't you go ahead, John? Because I feel like you know more about DoorDash than I do.
Sure. I mean, my information is also very fresh too. It's not that I'm really competent on the matter, but DoorDash
Like
went up
Amazon Fresh.
100%. So a little bit about DoorDash, I guess, historically speaking. They're a Y Combinator alumni exactly 10 years ago. They had $120,000 from Y Combinator and went through 10 rounds of funding. I think they've raised so far 3 billion in terms of VC funding. This includes a lot of big firms like Durable Partners, Fidelity Investments, Sands Capital. They've stopped VC funding. Their latest round was 2020, so it looks like they're not cash poor anymore.
But out of curiosity, do you have the date of that last funding in 2020?
June 18th.
I'm gonna say, because wow, they went public in December of 2020. So
I guess
I don't know.
that
Those
was
just
the last cut over, right?
yeah, I would say that feels like burning the midnight oil right there, like getting
Yeah.
it in right before.
Basically. And what's so interesting about DoorDash is they're up exactly 100%, well, almost exactly 100%, 99.86% year over year in the last 12 months. So that's quite impressive.
Yeah.
So they're not cash poor. They've got a very healthy, I guess, uplifted trend since they IPO. So unlike a lot of companies. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent one to do further due diligence. And yeah, they don't offer dividends, but what they do offer is in New York, I think starting mid this year onwards, they're going to be giving minimum wage as salary. And that's their first, I guess, like pilot projects,
Which
also kind of mandated by the.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing in terms of investment?
see, that's what I was gonna say there as well. Is like, let's not act like DoorDash is doing that from the kindness of their hearts.
Yes.
The state of New York said you have to do this, and maybe state or city of New York, I actually don't know which one it was, and the state of California won't be
It's kind
far
of the same thing.
behind. Well,
Yeah.
yes. And to answer FA, to answer your question, in my opinion, that's bad.
Yeah.
Like DoorDash pay is, I mean, as someone who's driven several shifts for DoorDash, and is currently working on a YouTube video for it this week. So I'm pretty up to date on this. Your average per order DoorDash pay is like $2.50. Whether you're
Really?
driving,
Is
whether
that
you're
low?
driving 1 mile
Okay.
or 50 miles. Yeah, well,
Wow.
not 50, but
But
still.
really, but I feel like all the menu items are always inflated on DoorDash, and I assumed
Yeah.
that was part of the charge.
No, that a lot of that goes back. So Dashers are paid very similar to like even like pizza. When I delivered pizzas in college, this was the same thing. Of we got $2.15 an hour on the road. So when you DoorDash, you are expecting to get paid by tips. Like nobody gets rich driving for DoorDash unless you're getting some really good tips.
Really?
Um,
And the tip is usually defaulting to like what, 18% or something?
I have not ordered from DoorDash in so many
You
years. I
can pretty
couldn't
much
tell
tip
you.
however you want. You can tip $1, but obviously it's custom to give like a certain percentage.
Usually
Yeah.
people probably go the default option, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But so to continue on that though, I mean, when you add this minimum wage aspect to it, which I'm assuming is minute because they have their drive-by time now, which you get paid anytime you're on an order. But if I'm reading the minimum wage laws correct, DoorDash separates your time into two things: time you're dashing and the time you're actually on orders. So from my understanding of the New York minimum wage laws, they're requiring people to get paid for time while dashing, whether you're doing an order or not. So
Yes.
from an investment perspective, this kind of seems like a worrisome for the business model
Detrimental
because
to their margins, right?
yes,
Yeah.
because I mean you're pushing the responsibility of paying dashers from the consumer to the company itself, and I don't want to get into the whole talk of whether or not that's a good idea or a bad idea from a moral standpoint. That is a whole nother podcast, but from a
Sure.
sheer financials perspective, that is bad for DoorDash, Uber, and everyone else as a company.
Sure. Sure. I mean,
So-
like I alluded, like their margins are pretty healthy though, because not only that they upcharge the actual cost of sale of the good or service, they also charge the merchant too, whether it be a restaurant, Instacart, Walmart. So they make good money, and they mostly defer the payments of the dasher to the customer, right? Either through the service fee or the tips. They don't really give them a lot of money. Like I think some of these gigs don't even like offer a set salary. DoorDash might be exceptional, like $2.5 an hour or something, like a default, but a lot of them don't even offer anything. It's all commission.
Well, it is $2.50 per order, not per hour.
Per order, okay.
I was saying pizza delivery was $2.50 an hour.
I see. I mean, with pizza delivery, you typically probably do like 4 or 5, but with DoorDash, you have to pick it up from different places. So
Yeah.
it's probably a lot less than that. So I'm looking at it, and this is only on New York City, and it says there are like 60,000 drivers.
I mean,
Wow.
what's the population in New York City? I believe that
13, I think. 13
Yeah,
million.
13 million. Yeah. I mean, especially after the pandemic, DoorDash and the sort really became popular, and people really discovered the bliss of being lazy, me included. So I can totally like understand that DoorDash has really gone up, and I think it's gonna keep going up for a while at least until it levels
Yeah.
off. But it's mostly like focused on cities, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, as someone who lives, and I don't want to say the middle of nowhere, because I do have a city population of like 90,000. DoorDash doesn't pop here at all.
Sure.
We're too small and we're too spread out. But like, I've got a friend who lives in Denver. And he's a full-time dasher, and like, man, he makes more than I do at my 9 to 5.
I'm sure.
Really?
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, it's also like I guess a lot of the drivers are empowered by not having a boss. Basically, it's like it's kind of like freelancing, right?
Oh, it
Set
is.
your
Or it
own
is literally
hours of work,
freelancing.
right? You don't have to
Yeah.
be at, like if you're a college student, you don't
Yeah.
mind working at night.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so those are very good upsides, but like I guess the question is, will DoorDash keep growing, or is it gonna stagnate at some point? And when is a good point to like invest or not invest in it?
It's a very good point. I mean, their global operations obviously hasn't, come to saturation, but within the US, there is a ceiling, right? Because
Right.
there's only finite amount of deliveries you can make. But
yeah,
globally speaking, there's so many markets that they haven't really integrated to. I
yeah,
think
that's a
most
great
of
point.
Europe, you don't have DoorDash. You got Uber, but no
But
DoorDash.
Was it?
in Europe, don't they have their own stuff?
They do. They do. But it's more like localized, I would say, like more like they're mimicking Uber, for example,
Right.
like in Germany and stuff.
I was also gonna say, like, that's a while we're on the subject, DoorDash, I mean, still down what 32% since IPO. Why invest in DoorDash when Uber's right there?
Right.
Like, Uber hit profitability first. Uber's been around longer. Uber has Uber Eats on the side of the ride
Right.
sharing model,
Exactly.
and also Uber's been
But
dipping their toes.
I don't
in
know if that's a
self-driving
good thing or a
cars.
bad thing. Like Uber Eats, you never think about, like when you say Uber, you don't think about Uber Eats. You think about like Uber, the car service, right? So like
Agreed.
that's from a marketing perspective, DoorDash has them beat because when you say DoorDash, you think of like food,
It's their niche.
right?
Yeah,
It's their
Without a
niche.
doubt.
So like the
that's
same
fair.
reason why you wouldn't go to, I don't know, Vimeo to watch videos. I guess Vimeo is a bad example, like Facebook to watch videos as opposed to YouTube. You know, they both do the same thing, really. But why would you go? Why would you go to Facebook to watch videos, basically?
So,
Yeah.
so you're thinking invest in DoorDash if you're bullish on food delivery, invest in Uber if you're bullish on ride sharing.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
I was excited.
And-
I'm looking at balance sheets here, and Uber's got the competitive edge. They're more profitable. EPS, S&P 500 inclusive, which still baffles me. I mean, they're up what 106% last year, which is pretty on par. 66% in the last 5. I don't know. From my perspective, it just seems like a better company.
Yeah. And they've got maybe bigger market too because of the transportation element.
right.
Yeah.
It's definitely true. But another thing is that, like, aside from developed countries, Uber, the locals in other countries don't allow Uber to be run.
True.
They literally go like and basically beat up all the Uber drivers. Like the taxi drivers do that. So
Oh,
like only this only works in the like first world countries. Like so it does have like a limited amount of space that it can grow in. Whereas DoorDash, it doesn't really step on anyone's foot, you know?
okay, that I actually did not know. When you said beating up Uber drivers at first, I thought you meant figuratively.
No,
No, I didn't realize you meant literally.
they literally do that. It's like in Turkey, for example, when Uber first came to Turkey, taxi drivers would literally get people out of their cars, and then they would like 4 or 5 taxi drivers just beat up one Uber driver, and
Yeah.
that's why they stopped doing that.
Like what's so interesting is I was in Bulgaria not so long ago for work, and literally the same thing happened there too. I thought it was maybe just Turkey, but like literally the same thing. It only took 3 months for them to take down the entire services and disable Uber. So you're right. Like in countries where cab drivers are still relatively super underpaid, low wage labor, like it's basically like it's their bread, right? Like they don't have any fallback to any other profession, so they literally beat up Uber drivers and protest.
Yeah, so that's why I'm thinking Uber has like a limited amount of space to grow, whereas food industry, you never not stop being hungry either. That's
True.
one of the things that, like, as public transportation gets better and better, like I'm thinking very long term here in terms of that, but it's like food is never going to stop being a thing.
Yeah.
I would hope not, or else we got problems.
I think though, like short to medium term, Uber can definitely achieve like almost phasing out regular cabs though from the market.
I'm surprised they haven't yet, honestly.
Yeah. I
Like,
guess there's some resistance maybe, right? From
Yeah.
oh, I mean, there is, and there always will be. I don't know. I've had some very good experiences with Uber.
Same.
I've had a couple bad ones, but every time I've had a bad one, the company has been more than helpful.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And from a security perspective, like it's weird because like every single like friend of mine, especially females, they prefer Uber because of the security elements, because at least they know the name of the guy. They can see the ratings. There's a track record of when you get into the car or not. Whereas cab drivers, where you think maybe cabs are more secure because there's a name behind it, there's license behind it, they can be like far more creepier as an experience. So I think Uber is more secure than cabs, at least the perception. is that way.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think both companies are like safe to invest. They both have like very bright future. It's difficult to say which one would be better for investment. But I think if you go with either one of these, I think it would be good. What about other gig economy companies like Upwork and
Well,
part-time jobs?
I would say I can't speak for Upwork as much as I can speak for Fiverr. Ooh. Fiverr, hot take. I will die on this hill. Fiverr should have never been publicly traded. I love Fiverr as a service, and I think you guys do too. I have also made decent money on Fiverr in the past. As a stock, though, ain't nobody making money. I mean, they had, what was it, 2021, 2021. I've got the chart pulled in front of me. February 2021, they hit a high of just over $323 USD, and right now they're trading at about $30 USD.
Oh wow, that's, they capitulated on that. Huh?
I get why a lot of people like Fiverr. I mean, again, we like Fiverr because it's easy,
Right.
and if you can do everything in the all-in-one platform. But I mean, as an investment though, it's been downhill for a while.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the problem of that, honestly, is if you get on Fiverr now, either of you please interrupt me if you think I'm wrong about this, but you get on Fiverr now, and it is an absolute race to the bottom, and AI has made an even more race to the bottom.
That's true.
Because, like, there is no way for this to come out right. So I'm just gonna say it. If Efe can make his cigarette joke, I can honestly say this. Like I used to make like decent money on Fiverr, doing articles for like 3 to 6 cents a word. So somebody would want like $1,000 article, and I could make pretty decent money. I do it for like $60 after Fiverr's 20% service fee. I make 48. I was pretty happy with that as a side hustle, and then it kind of started getting reach in more like third world countries. So now instead of, hiring me to do it for $60, there is a guy, I'm specifically saying this country because I worked with a lot of people from this country.
Pakistan?
Bangladesh, actually.
Not far.
West Pakistan at one point. No, East Pakistan at one point. Bangladesh, they'll do the exact same thing for like $10. So, why pay me? And then now like Chat GPT has come out with like the ability to write articles, and like, man, I can get a 500-word blog post out in 20 minutes,
Yeah.
And for most Fiverr orders, so the platform, I mean, the only way Fiverr makes money, or the main way Fiverr makes money, is they take 20% of every gig price. When the average price of a gig shoots down so far on your platform, they make less money.
Right. So ChatGPT is the ultimate killer of Fiverr.
You heard it here first.
Breaking news. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's like Fiverr, by definition, is kind of like cheaper, so that kind of usually means that it's lower quality. It's not always the case, but usually is. So like, if you can get it done with like AI, because people who go to Fiverr aren't really looking for like high quality stuff. They're more looking for like cheap.
Yeah.
And the cheapest way to do these things, at least like for copywriting and things like that, it's like AI is the way to go, I guess. So
I mean, it is. It really, really is, though.
But has it actually affected Fiverr so far? So like, I'm looking at the last 1 year, it is down 22%.
Let's pull EPS up real quick.
Right.
Yeah, Fiverr's competitor, Upwork, actually went up though in the same time frame, 12%. I think.
But Upwork isn't like, Upwork is for more high quality stuff.
Higher quality,
right?
yeah. I think the Upwork, like, I guess Upwork experience obviously cheaper, but also the convenience of it, right? You don't have to deal with hiring a person and take the responsibility. The contractual responsibility is handled by Upwork, and payments, etc., taxes. So yeah, I would place Upwork more like a convenience freelancer hiring platform rather than like cheap work for a fast job. Yeah.
Well, that also, I think, I mean, in my experience, Fiverr is great for like one-off orders, you know? Well, yeah, I mean, like, again, I'll dox us real quick. a lot of our art from the site, like the bull and the bear came from Fiverr. We hired that guy to do 1-2 things, and then that's about it. Whereas you get on Upwork, most of those gigs are more like long term.
Longer
Like,
term.
can we find someone to work 10, 20 hours a week for the next year or something?
For sure, for sure. Even like from an employer perspective, hiring perspective, Upwork is so much more structured. Like you can structure like hourly pay, contract pay. There's a contract that's drafted for you before you send the offer. You get hired like proposals, you schedule interviews. Fiverr's not like that. Fiverr's like,
so like,
literally, yeah.
Do you think that Upwork would be affected by AI?
I would say, I mean, yes, I would definitely say. And also, I looked up Fiverr stock. Since May of last year, people, I say you heard it here first. People are calling generative AI the thing that's killing Fiverr. Thanks Yahoo Finance. Thanks. Is that Moody's? Motley Fool. I saw MO. I think Upwork will get it. Probably not as bad because I also look like I've also done a few gigs on Upwork over the years. I even look at the difference in what I was asked to do on the two platforms because like Fiverr again was more of like, can you write this 1,000-word blog post? Whereas Upwork was more of like, hey, can you balance this Excel spreadsheet to help see if like our restaurant is profitable this month? That was a fun one. I had a lot of I nerd out over that kind of stuff, but like I can do the 1,000-word blog post through Chat GPT, whatever Bard is called now. I saw the renaming it or whatever, but like running a full balance sheet statement of cash flows is a lot harder to do. So I think Upwork has a lot more specialized work, so they're a little more, I'm not going to say completely safe, but a lot safer.
Yeah, I was just checking the balance sheet and the cash flow. Looks like Upwork had a huge demand back in 2021, early 2022. Started to drop though in terms of the volumes generated. So I guess it's a no-brainer, right? Like during COVID, there was more interest in the services.
I don't know. I mean, hey, a lot of people got sent home, so who's really to say exactly what happened? So then moving away from those two, Airbnb also reporting this week. Like, would we include Airbnb in the gig economy?
That's yeah. I mean,
everyone in chat, pay your $300 cleaning fee right now.
I'm not sure. Like Airbnb, it's good still, but I don't think it's as good as it was like 5-6 years ago, at least from a public side, because their prices have gone up and they basically oversaturated every rental market there is.
Yeah.
And like purchase, like sales too. It's like because everybody's just buying property to just make an Airbnb out of it. That you would think that would drive down the price, but that's actually has been driving it up because the mortgage rates are up. It's like a whole clusterfuck of things that has been caused by Airbnb. And is it going to continue going down this way, or is it going to get better for Airbnb? It's a good question, which I'm not sure. I was in the so like we actually are going to go to San Francisco, I think, in end of April. So we were looking for like hotels to stay at, and we saw that like the cheapest price there is like $250 for like an actual hotel. But Airbnb, we can all stay at the same place for like $300 a night, which is still cheaper. So I feel like if you're going with like family or something, Airbnb is definitely cheaper. But if you're going alone, why risk it with an Airbnb?
Yeah.
I mean, I think conceptually, like Airbnb is just better. Because I look at it as like in a way of like, we could pay 200. I'm making up these numbers. $200 a night to stay in a hotel room, or like $250 a night, we get a whole house or whatever, know. Conceptually, I like it, but also I really do agree with what you're saying, Efe, about the oversaturation.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I don't think price is necessarily driving Airbnb versus hotel decision anymore. I think it's more the convenience and what you expect from the experience, right?
I think that's a very good statement. Yes.
Yeah, like if you want to cook or barbecue, for example,
right.
You'd go for Airbnb. If you want to invite people over, if you want to party, like, or if you want just more space, more open space, because it's less robotic than a hotel experience. Like, I mean, things like, not necessarily promoting this here, but like even if you're a smoker, Airbnb is more convenient.
That's
So,
true. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but like, I don't think like business travel Airbnb has
Oh,
taken
no.
over
no.
because like if I'm just doing business travel, why would I risk it with an Airbnb? You know?
I mean, I think Airbnb. I hate. I'm trying to think of the best like way to word this, but I think getting an Airbnb kind of sets the vibe of the vacation a little bit too. You know, or maybe I've just maybe I've fallen for the marketing. I don't know, but like I mean, you go to a hotel room. I feel like you don't expect to hang out in the hotel room.
It's true. It's more to pass.
Yeah. Whereas, like, if you're, I mean, hey, prime example, my wife and I are looking at taking a short little weekend getaway later this year where we can kind of just hang out and chill. That's an Airbnb thing because what's the point of sitting around in a hotel room?
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, look at the like actual stock is like up 40%. You know, last year. People are basically traveling more because pandemic is basically over, so things are getting back to normal-ish. And during pandemic, it was obviously hit quite hard, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, out of curiosity, do you think that Airbnb is going to lose much market share to VRBO?
I
Who is
think they started right?
I would say who's owned by Expedia, so they're also publicly traded, kind of in the same way that YouTube
prices. Are they necessarily cheap, or do they offer a different like? Do they service to a different type of clientele?
Well, I know from at least the commercials at Airbnb. I mean, you can rent anything. Like I can't tell you the number of times I stayed in some random person's guest bedroom. Like
or basements or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you rent off VRBO, you either get the whole house, the whole apartment, the whole whatever. Like that is your one option.
Yeah, I think it's more like higher end ish, I guess. Yeah,
that's what they market it as. Like people with families looking to spend a little more.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, so that would be under Expedia, right?
Yes,
the ticker.
Expedia up about 20% in the last year, but I mean, is that really fair to say comparative?
Right.
Answer probably not, because again, it's like saying, "Oh, Alphabet's down, YouTube must be crashing." It's not the same,
right? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Airbnb is it's at a point where like when you ask, it's kind of like the same thing as when you ask for a Coke, they bring you Coca-Cola. When you want to go travel, you go with the Airbnb. It's like kind of like the company's name became synonymous with like actually renting someone's home, and VRMO, I've never heard of this. I'm gonna be honest with you, this is the first time I've actually I don't even know what the what's called.
They're
VRBO.
Heavy on commercial side of things, but I don't think a lot of people know it. They're just like super highly marketed.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, if anybody's gonna beat Airbnb in this game, it's something like Expedia, because they have like a way to funnel people into it.
Yeah.
Out of just also curiosity, we're kind of getting close to the end here, but I do want to ask. We talked about regulation in relation to DoorDash and Uber and all that. How do you think that's going to hold up with like Airbnb? Because also, did you hear about like what happened in like California recently?
Yeah.
So John shook his head no. Anyone listening who hasn't heard, so California state law, I don't know if this is the law in all 50 states or not, so don't quote this everywhere. But once you live somewhere for like 30 continuous days, you are considered a tenant and you get tenants' rights.
Wow.
Which means if you rent an Airbnb for 31 days, which several people in California have done, and then you just stop paying, you have to be evicted. Wow. Versus if they just rent it for like 2 weeks and then stop paying, the landlord, the owner could call the cops for yeah. But now they're a long-term tenant; they have to be evicted, and again,
they probably have other rights too.
Yes, they do. I don't know the first thing about landlord or tenant rights in California. I don't claim that I do, but I have heard from people that I trust that some of these evictions can take like upwards of a year or two.
They could, for sure. Yeah, especially in a place like California. But I guess my question then is, because they could always just like maximum rent time to like 29 days or something, get around this. But like, is this law specifically targeted for Airbnbs? Because if it is, then there will be more laws like this.
Well, I think it's the same question when we can go back to the same argument with DoorDash. Is that $18 an hour minimum wage specifically targeted at DoorDash? Which I think is also a great point of like, I mean, this is the internet culture talk. Like, is this just 1 out of 50 states, 2% of the country, which is hard to wrap up California in that, but like, if similar laws don't go, I mean, we're going to see California has a law, and I think New York is either has or is creating a similar one. If the other 48 don't do similar laws, do we really care?
Yeah. I mean, if they're specifically trying to root out Airbnb out, then I would be worried. If this is just some random thing that they did, then I'm not as worried. It's like, because if they're trying to like snuff out Airbnb, there will be more to come that will just basically hit the stock more and more. But I mean, in the long run, it's not financial advice. I would personally not probably like buy something like Airbnb, honestly.
See, I'm Airbnb bull. I firmly believe that's the future of travel. I mean, maybe it's I don't. Oh no, never mind. I'm not going to say that because you're both going to hate me.
No, say it.
I was going to say maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know, but like, for the past
it's not
years.
I'm not looking at it from a liking perspective though. I like Airbnb too. I'm looking at it a regulation perspective.
Okay. I say I was just going to say for the last like 7 years, I check Airbnb before I check hotels.
I do the same thing. It's just like if it's in the same country, like if it's in the US, I check Airbnb. If it's gonna be in Mexico, I'm never gonna do an Airbnb there. But
or any other country, we're not supposed
or any other country. Like, it doesn't matter what other country is. Just an example. But I mean, just say like I'm worried that the regulations is just gonna kill this business in the long run, or at least gonna make it into like a regular hotel business, which will cut into like profits.
I think they've already sort of started to evolve that direction, in my opinion.
I think you got a point. I'm kind of just pulling up like Marriott also reports on, I think it's Tuesday. So I mean, like, we take a standard hotel chain up 43% the last year, 106% in the last 5 years. I still like that return. But again, I will admit I am biased on my Airbnb bull just from the amount of like good experiences I've had in Airbnbs. I stayed in someone's shed in Kentucky for $25 a night. It was the most fun vacation I've ever had.
I mean, no doubt.
I don't doubt that. Yeah.
It was a nice shed. We had a bathroom, two bedrooms, heated, cooled, all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great way to experience like international traveling or within the same country, different experiences, right? Because like hotels, I mean, like there's rarely any like rural hotels with like a pool, right? Or if you want to stay in like northern Sweden in like a igloo type of experience, like there's no hotels there, so you can rent someone's like cottage or hut or something, right, with a sauna, etc. So for those experiences, it's great. But I must agree with Efe. I don't think they're gonna be the mainstream conventional way of traveling because of, like you said, regulations. Hotel industry is a very big industry. It only takes 1 or 2 big scandals for them to be shut down. Regulators are probably already like super hawkish on them. So, and you cannot control, unlike hotels, you cannot control their like what happens, right?
Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm a bull. You guys aren't. Marketplays.com/earnings watch. What do you think of Airbnb?
Yeah.
Who do you side with? The two guys that are probably right, or me who's just blinded by liking the stock, or liking the product?
I mean, yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a good just where would Airbnb fit into hub. So we're gonna go earnings watch. Yeah, come join. I guess with that said, you guys cool to start wrapping it up, or any more closing thoughts, John, Efe?
I guess the gig economy is definitely something that I will be doing more further due diligence on, but definitely Uber and DoorDash seems to be the top 2 right now in terms of demand.
Agreed. Efe?
I'll probably go with DoorDash, honestly, or like something like that.
God, you and I can just not get along today. Because yeah, you know what? Next week's podcast. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hello, hi.
Putting everybody to sleep.
I have a dog now. And thank you guys for tuning in to Marketplace Monday. We will be back next week, Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, to talk about, I think, retail is next week's topic. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we will post it beforehand.
Yep.
And
join Marketplace.
Yep. And I was going to say, until then, marketplace.com is the site. It is in the description of this stream. Come join. It is completely free, and join the conversation. Connect with your fellow investors.
Yep.